Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Utah Johnny Lang again, back here on YouTube. Today we're going to walk you through my latest build, which is my 2005 Porsche Cayenne Safari. Okay, so those that know me know that I kind of favor off-road vehicles. Actually, that's not true. I like all types of vehicles, but I've certainly had a lot of four-wheel drives in my life. So the idea to build a Cayenne came about a year ago after watching a few of them sell on various sites like Bring a Trailer for an ungodly amount of money. And knowing what these cars are and that they've gone down in price, I thought, you know what, this would be a fun opportunity to pick one up and have a little bit of fun with it. So my hunt was on. I hit some classified ads, I checked out a few used ones. Now, it's important to note that on a car like this, you really got to find one that was cared for, has plenty of maintenance records. The last thing you want to do is buy a beat up Porsche Cayenne that needs a bunch of stuff, because I'll tell you this, it's going to put you in the poorhouse. So if you're in the market for a Cayenne, and this is the first generation, started in 2004, this is a 2005, make sure you find one that was cared for. This one has 160,000 miles on it, and it shows really, really well. The seat wear is good, the interior is clean, it didn't stink, and the body was really good shape. I didn't find any evidence that any type of paint work, so it was a win for me. So of course, as any car guy does, you hit the internets and you start looking at, performance modifications and off-road modifications and so forth. And that's certainly what I did in this case. Now, there's a couple of places already that are building some really killer stuff for these Porsches and the Tourigs and so forth. Facebook groups, there's a really good Volkswagen Porsche Facebook group. And the two main places that I'm speaking of are Eurowise Performance and Forge Motorsports Overland. They do a lot of the Porsche Cayenne stuff. Eurosport is really taking it to the next level with bumpers and skid plates and so forth. I ended up buying the lift kit through Eurowise, and then I got the wheels from Forge Motorsport Overland. Now the lift kit is pretty plain and simple. It did take me some time, about 10 or 11 hours. I did it all by myself in the garage, and it took me that long just basically because it was new to me. Of course, there's always a couple bolts that just throw you and are a bugger to get in, and that certainly happened. Essentially, most of the lift kits, once you go past, I think 2.5 inches, you have to drop the subframe, which you can see these subframe, the little red spacer right there. You have to drop the front and the rear subframe to maintain the proper geometry of the drivetrain. So that was the first step. I did that, and then I went ahead and did the lift kit, which is a matter of removing the whole strut assembly. And then, I don't know if you can see that, but there's a spacer that you just insert at the top of that strut assembly. You don't have to compress the springs, which is nice, because I don't know if anybody's ever dealt with spring compressors, but they scare the you-know-what out of me. After I got the lift kit on, of course, naturally, I had to buy some wheels and tires. Now, I'm not typically a white wheel type of guy. That is until Victor Equipment came out with these killer wheels they call the Berg model. And it's not a true beadlock, that's just kind of fake. But I thought, my gosh, what a good looking wheel. And guess what? It was specifically made for the Porsche Cayenne. And you had your choice of two offsets, either a more aggressive ET20 or a little slightly less aggressive, I think, ET30. And of course, I went with the more aggressive. As you can see, they stick out just a bit, not much, but perfect for me. And of course, I went with those 275/70 18s, and that's about a 33.4 tire size. And with this 3-inch lift, I should have gone with the 4. It's really kind of pushing it. The reason why I say that, the back fits fine, but I've had some rubbing issues on the front, and as you can see right here, that is a little trouble area. I had to cut away some plastic, and then I've had to pound that inside pinch weld quite a bit, and as you can see, they still rub. So I got to do a little bit more pounding. Now, some guys have actually cut that out and just welded a plate. I think maybe that's my next step. Easily done. And then there wouldn't be any rubbing, but that is something you got to deal with. Like I said, in hindsight, I probably should have gone down just a size. The benefit of going down a size also is that Falken makes these tires in a D load rating in the size smaller. These are E load tires. And you guys know that E load tires generally have way more plies, which means what? Way more weight. And I always like to, put my stock wheels and tires on a scale when I'm putting new tires on. And these are like 22 pounds per wheel heavier than the stock wheels. And honestly, that's significant. There's the whole unsprung weight thing. Many race car people are super familiar with that. I mean, the same applies. So yes, it slowed it down. And, I may not have that high of a top speed now. It's certainly off-road capable. I love these Falken Wild Peak AT3s. I've had them on several vehicles, and they're just a favorite. They last forever. On our Land Cruiser, we had 50,000 miles on them, and I still have them on another rig. They're just great tires all around. They got good siping. They dissipate rain and snow pretty decent, and they're a good price. Really deep tread as well. I hit up good old eBay, got some really cool stickers. It really kind of tied in, with the white wheels. Because I get lost everywhere, I put a compass on the back quarter panel there, so I know which direction. Actually, no, that doesn't work. Well, it kind of does. Anyway, again, just a decal. And then after that was all done, of course, I started on the fabrication of the rear tire carrier and then the front bumper. And I'll show you exactly what I did there. So first things first, I obviously had to remove the rear bumper cover. This is pretty easy to do. There's some YouTube tutorials on doing this. It only takes a few minutes to remove. You can see that I have an aftermarket U-Haul hitch, but this is the same mounting location as the OEM hitch. So with that, I ended up just kind of tying into that U-Haul hitch because it's a pretty sturdy, strong point, and building my tire carrier off of that using some 2-inch really thick like hitch tubing on each end. The reason why I kind of designed it this way is because I didn't want to totally cut up that rear bumper cover. I wanted it like somewhat clean. So you can see there the way the hitch comes out, and it's just a small little 2.5-inch square that I had to cut out on each end, and I think it just provided for a cleaner look. I was able to source the rear swing carrier bearing and the latch and so forth from a local company called Midnight 4x4. Shout out to Randy. And they're a great little place that has a lot of fabrication parts. So kind of you can see there the way I put it all together, installed some anti-rattle bolts so it would not rattle, and it's done wonderful. I used some nutserts for the plate mount over on the left side, and then reworked the latch angle a little bit better, as I wanted to make sure that that sucker really stays closed during any type of adventure. And of course, I just hit it up with some white spray paint to tie it all in and called it good. Now the next thing obviously was to focus on the front. Lots of cool different bumpers. There are some that are actually being produced. Eurowise is doing a bumper that's really, really cool. I like to get a little crafty. I like to do my own design. The one thing I hate doing is putting large lights in front of cooling grills, radiator, tranny coolers and so forth. And I know some people say, well, there's still enough airflow. Yeah, there is, but I still just don't like to do that. I mean, cars run hot, especially when they get older. And, you know, any airflow you're taking away from that just really affects your temperatures and so forth. So anytime I try to put these big lights on cars, I try to get them to clear any of the cooling vents and so forth, so there's proper airflow. So with that, I ended up with this main 1.5-inch bar that goes across that bottom, and then there's some bracing that ties into the frame underneath, and I put a big 1/4-inch aluminum skid plate with some low profile little bolts there. That's the main bar. It's tied in to the frame a couple points. Obviously put the lights up high. It kind of gives it that rally look, as if almost they were up in the hood with a light pod, but not. Went with the Hellas, the Euro beams, and those are awesome. They have a metal housing, pretty sturdy. Yeah, they're not LED, they're halogen, so they're still affordable. But I've had them on my Land Cruiser, and they worked out pretty slick. I put the lights on, and I wasn't really satisfied with the vibration that I was getting because there was no upper support. So I took it a step further and ended up cutting a little hole in the front bumper. I removed the headlights, and I made a bracket that goes into the front and then turns with a different bracket and attaches to the subframe of the vehicle, the metal. And that remedied the vibration. It's nice and strong. And then just to kind of top it all off, I found these cool crossbars, I think on eBay, and they're specifically for a Porsche Cayenne. Super slick. They just bolt to the factory rack here. You have to have these, and they're strong enough to hold whatever you have, a box or something up there. They weren't horribly expensive. They were like $100. And got some imitation traction mats or whatever you want to call them there. Those work out really good. I have a set of the real MaxTrax on my Land Cruiser, and they're pretty slick. One of those cheap items that it's good to have, that if you're ever out in the boonies by yourself, that might just save you. All right, ladies and gents, thanks again for spending some time with Utah Johnny on my latest build, the 2005 Porsche Cayenne. Let me know if you got any questions or concerns or, you know, anything like that. I'll be more than happy to answer them if I can. And again, thanks for watching. You know the drill. Hit that like button, and you know, certainly subscribe if you want to see some other builds. Check out the A-Team van I just built, previous videos, and I'm always playing in the garage, so there'll be plenty more in the future. Thanks, guys. Take care.